Welcome to Current Chatter, the place where we dive into the latest news and happenings going on around the world. Join mother and son duo Kota and Losa as they engage in lively debates over current affairs and anything else that sparks a discussion. With diverse perspectives and a bit of fun, you never know what topics will come up next. Tune in every Friday afternoon for your weekly dose of Current Chatter.
What's going on, guys? I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. It's Current Chatter time, as always. I'm here with Mama. Mama, how you doing?
Thumbs up, Dakota. I'm having a good day.
Good.
Yeah. How about you?
Work has been crazy, but I'm keeping up.
Yeah, job security when you're busy. We're getting busy because it's starting to get into the holiday season, even though I know that Christmas and Thanksgiving and even Halloween is a week and a half away, but in the customer service industry, it's starting to pick up.
I was going to say, is it getting kind of crazy over there?
Yep, crazy people on the phones.
You ever think you'll move up in the company?
I don't know.
Like, are you going to do customer service forever with them?
I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life, Dakota. I put in, 25 years in IT, and before that, 15 years in the medical field. And I don't want to do either of those things right now. So I'm happy with what I'm doing.
Okay. I guess
Does that make sense?
maths? No, yeah, for sure. It makes sense. Uh-huh. I just thought I'd ask if you want to move up in it or anything like that. But if you're happy, right?
Yep. You got to be where you want to be and where you feel comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. We finally finished the Ed Gein series, so we can talk about it.
It was like so, I'm proud of you for doing what you and your partner wanted, but that took a minute especially since you were the one who wanted to watch it in the first place.
I know, life got pretty crazy, and then it just kind of got put to the back burner.
Right. And then I finished it, and was it Friday night I called you, texted you, and was like, I had a little come apart after we finished watching it.
Why did you have a come apart?
Well, we can get to that. We'll get to it. But let's just start with that, letting people know that there will be spoilers on this.
Yeah, for sure. This is a spoiler alert. So the first episode's called Mother. And
right.
It's our introduction to Ed in his rural Wisconsin. I think it was Plainfield, right?
Yes, Plainfield, Wisconsin.
Yeah, his dysfunctional bond with his dearing mother, Augusta. It also hints at his isolation, religious upbringing, weirdness around death and the dead. It also explores how his upbringing seeds the monstrous tendencies that he has.
Right. So before we get really deeply into this, I think that it's important to say that each one of the episodes is an embodiment of a personality within the Ed Gein story. You know what I mean? Each episode was its own delve into, this was the function that his mother played in his story. Mm-hmm. And then we move on to the next episode and the next episode. And each one, they could splice them up and put them in any order because each one was an embodiment of who he was at that point in his life.
Yeah. The second episode's called Sick as Your Secrets. Ed begins to be consumed by vision / obsessed with death, exhumation, and that the show starts to wave in Hollywood media subplots, basically films that were inspired by him, and the collection of real-life horror and pop culture.
So I did not like the bouncing back and forth.
No?
Between times. I can't follow it as well as I used to when I was younger. Now it just confuses me. Now it's just like, what are we talking about? Where are we? Are we before this, after that? Is this the true part of the story? Is this not the true side of the story? And it's hard to decipher that information.
Yeah. And I think I can understand why it would be hard to follow. But once you picked up on it, I think you kind of understood what was going on.
Once I picked up on it, we were, a couple episodes in and we figured out what it was all about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, it was kind of cool to see their breakdown of all the things that Ed inspired, because he really did shape what
Horror
we know
fiction.
for. Yeah, absolutely. He really did shape that. The first rendition that we get a glimpse at is Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. I can't remember what year it came out. Do you know off the top of your head?
61 or 62. It came out a lot earlier than I thought it. I thought it was in the 70s, but it was definitely in the 60s.
Okay. That's the one with Norman Bates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like Psycho had ever been done before.
Mm-hmm. And it was it a hit? Because I wasn't around at that time, obviously. But
It made people sick. Like what they showed in the documentary was really how it happened. Like people were sick and throwing up and running away from the thing, and because nothing like that had ever been done before. Like everything that they'd done up to that point was campy or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just your typical Scream horror, like just dumb.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
a lot of it, too, is like, I think at that time period in the 60s, like, obviously they knew about other serial killers and whatnot. The term had been coined already.
Not until the 70s, late 70s, Biff.
Okay, excuse me, the late 70s. But I think it opened people's eyes to other people's imagination. I don't think that people even thought about things like that. Like, people acting like that. That's just not like the norm. And I think at that time it wasn't.
Get it? Because he was Norman Bates. Just kidding.
Yeah, a lot of like it just wasn't like a natural thought for people to think that someone was capable of these things, like wearing your mom's clothes and whatnot, and stabbing a lady.
Yeah, and I liked the Alfred Hitchcock bit, but it took a minute for me to figure out who he was.
Yeah. I don't know. Did he look like Alfred Hitchcock?
I don't know. He looked like the pictures of him. Do you know what I mean? But was that really what he was like?
Yeah, I'm looking at a side-by-side picture, and it's pretty accurate. I think they gave him more of a double chin than the original Alfred Hitchcock had, but...
Yeah. But I like the portrayal of that. I like the wife's take on it, how she was like, I'm not going to sit through this. You know, if you want to talk about this horrible stuff, you're going to have to do it without me. When she just got up and walked out of the movie because she was like, this is ridiculous. So it was interesting, the first jump in time. And then we jump back to Ed and where he is, and that his secrets, he's unable to keep what he's doing a secret. And you would think in real life that yes, that would be true. But at the same time, he didn't have anybody, like they made up this character of this woman. He didn't have anybody to rely on like he did in the show.
Yeah, Adeline Watkins was a real person in that town, but when he got captured, there was one news interview she did where she said that they had a long relationship, like a 20-year relationship or something, and it ended after he proposed to her or something like that, and she just didn't think she could live up to what his expectations were. And then like 2 weeks later she came back and was like, yeah, no, none of that's true. So I think that they had to make Ed more relatable in a sense.
Why? I'm asking because of how it ended, and I won't jump ahead. Why did they... Why? First of all, he was a murderer. Second of all, he was a grave robber. And why? Why does he need to have any redeeming qualities? They didn't give Dahmer any redeeming qualities. They didn't give the Menendez brothers any redeeming qualities because maybe they didn't have any.
I think they had to give him more redeeming qualities because of what he did for pop culture and the horror industry in itself. And I really do think that if they had just done, like, it would have been really hard to just have a TV show with just Ed being alone all the time, you know, because that's all Ed was.
Right.
Was
there's no story to it if he's alone. But can you imagine your psyche being so fragile in this world that you would do the things that he did and expect somebody to be there for him?
No, but I also, at the same time, he wasn't telling anybody, you know what I mean? He never was open about it until he got caught. So how would anybody know? That would just be Weird Ed. When he was in town, they just, like, he was quirky and weird and laughed to himself a little bit. Like, he just was the weird guy in town.
He would just start laughing. He would be having conversations with people and just start laughing.
Yeah. He just didn't have any social skills. And you can blame that all on Augusta, on his mom. I really do think there's this question all the time in the true crime community, whether it's nurture versus nature. And I truly do think that the nurture that Augusta gave Ed is what caused him to be the way that he is.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. And let's just put a pin in this really quick for just one moment. Like, the portrayal of Ed, phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely wonderful.
The acting, phenomenal.
Yeah, Charlie did an absolute fantastic job. I can't think of anyone better that could have played him. I can't think of people who could play him the way that Charlie portrayed him. Absolutely phenomenal acting, and come up with this voice that Ed does have a squeaky voice almost, kind of in real life. Ed did, and
right.
I was reading about it today, and he at some point started to do that because his mother said that men's voice were too gruff, so he trained himself to have a quieter voice,
a more timid voice.
Exactly.
That makes sense. And that he just wanted to be timid. He wanted to be, like, he wanted his mom to love him. And his mom wanted him to be a girl. So he did everything he possibly could to maintain that facade, whether she was on this earth or not.
Yeah. And then we get into episode 3. It's called The Babysitter. The search for connection gets wrapped. Ed engages with a woman babysitter, leads to gruesome magic show style sequence.
Where he was like...
Yeah, where he changes his face.
Right.
One fact about Ed that that I know about that I'm not sure if everybody else knows is that he was the town babysitter. Like, people trusted Ed
in
with
real
his
life.
kid. Yeah, in real life.
This
and
one,
in the
they
show,
kind of made a mockery of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, when you think about it, when you know what Ed has done, how like, can you imagine someone being like, "Oh yeah, Ed Gein babysat me when I was little"? What?
Can you imagine? Oh, that would be horrible. So the babysitter plays a key role in that. It's in the show. It's him killing her slowly, like they would have done in Silence of the Lambs. And then they had their one or two nods toward Silence of the Lambs by, he was like once he'd murdered her, he was putting lotion on her, and it was very reminiscent of what Wild Bill did in Silence of the Lambs to put the lotion on the skin. I want me and your dad, because we were from that era of Silence of the Lambs. Like, that came out when we were, like, in our teenage years, in our fundamental teenage years. And when you see something that horrifying that at that fundamental life juncture, you remember it. And I just remember bits and pieces of Silence of the Lambs thinking it was horrifying.
See, and I've watched it, and I don't remember Buffalo Bill being like that. I don't. I'm going to have to watch it again now that I've watched this series. But they also took the scene from Texas Chainsaw Massacre where they're having Grandpa bash the girl's head in, but it was Ed having his mom bash the girl's head in. And that babysitter did go missing in a town nearby, I think, and they kind of speculated that Ed did something to her, but they never could prove or have any evidence that she ever was on the Gein farm. So I think that they took those liberties in the show to add her in there so that they could connect different pop culture things with the series.
Well, like I was saying, that each episode was an embodiment of who Ed was. So Mother, that was the embodiment of him wanting to be his mother's favorite. Sick as Your Secrets was an embodiment of who he was when he got started, and the loneliness and the depths that one person will go to, you know.
Yeah, and then we also, we forgot to touch on episode 2. He does his actual first murder of a barkeep. Do you remember her name?
Mary.
Was that Mary Hogan?
Mary Hogan, yep.
And he thought that Mary resembled his mother a lot, just her size. She was actually German, and his mother was born and raised in Germany, I think. But Mary was like the polar opposite of Augusta. Mary was not, I'm sure she was a God-fearing woman, but she also liked to cuss, and she worked at a bar.
They really embodied who she was, by saying, by her saying, I can bring a girl down from Chicago if you want.
Yeah.
And then him saying to the police, she had life
Connections.
before.
Yeah.
Connections. And that just embodied who everybody said Mary was in just a few key elements, which is hard to do when you have a bioepic story of the life of Ed Gein. You know what I mean?
That was his first murder that he confessed to. He only confesses to 2, so technically he's not a serial killer.
You can't be the grandfather of serial killers and not be. Well, there were serial killers before him. The name hadn't been coined until the 1970s.
So now we're on to episode 4. It's called Green. At the end of episode 3, he starts to have a relationship with Bernice Warden, and she owns like a local hardware store.
Yep.
Hardware store, and that is totally also fabricated. That whole story didn't happen. They were cordial because she was the hardware store owner and he was like a handyman. He did handiwork around the town, but that was basically the gist of their relationship. I don't know. That was where I really had a hard time, was with Bernice's story, because of the way they portrayed it. You know what I mean?
Right.
He did have a fascination with true crime magazines, and in one of those magazines it talks about the bitch of Bakentosh.
Yeah.
Do you remember her name?
Is it Elsa?
It was Elsa. Elsa something. She was the wife of a Nazi captain, I think, and they ran one of the concentration camps. And supposedly she did a bunch of horrendous things to the Jewish people. I'm sure he read about her in real life, but they make her up to be one of his main focuses.
Right. Because she's given to him. They say that every serial killer has a kickoff point where, you know what I mean? And for him, it was when Adelaide showed him those pictures of the
Holocaust.
The Holocaust. And was like, so it was really important that her story, that he have this break in reality person that he thought he knew. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very important to how it all ends up, how it all resolves itself in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in Green, he does some of the most horrifying things that he is accused of doing.
Yeah. It's is it this episode or the next episode with the
By the next episode, he is in full coitus with the unalive.
Yeah, in this episode, Ed's torn between the two women, so he's got Adeline and Bernice Warden. They also introduce Texas Chainsaw Massacre into this, so they tie that into the series on the 4th episode. The series really leans into how his myth became horror movie legends.
Yeah. So, and then now we move on to 5. Which is called Ice.
Ice, yep.
Where you see him, he's very settled into the whole serial killer motif. He's like, this is where I am the most happiest. He's killed people, he's made things. And I kind of wonder if Adelaide isn't a figment of his imagination, in that she egged him on to continue doing what he was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Adeline, her subplot is that she wants to follow around a famous crime scene
photographer in New York.
Yeah, and so she leaves and she tells Ed, hey, you should get someone to keep you company. And that's, again, where he really starts to lean into grave robbing and having relations with deceased people. He's fucking dead people.
Let's just say it like it is.
That scene, can you imagine being Charlie and having to film that?
I just am. I really thought he did a good job. However, if I never see his butt again, it'll be too soon. It was just like in each episode we had to see his bare butt. It was like, really, dude?
And I can't think of a single time I've ever watched, like in TV or movies, someone having sex with a dead body, but the way that they portrayed it is like so creepy and realistic. It like left you having like the worst kind of goosebumps ever.
Ugh,
Yeah.
the icks.
The icks.
Not the goosebumps, the icks.
Yeah, it definitely, it left you in the icks.
Yeah.
You're purring right into the mic.
So then we move on to Sit, where his relationship with Birdie really takes off. And he is convinced by his mother that she's given him a venereal disease because of everything that his mother has told him about women. And he was telling his mom that, I'm my own man now.
Because she had asked him to move in with her.
Yeah.
Bernice Worden had asked Ed. Yeah, so Ed has a vision of his mother saying, what kind of woman she is, and that she has a venereal disease, and so he's like, well, I can't be associated with that, so he goes to go break things off with Bernice Worden, and she is like super excited to have a man back in the house, and she buys him a lingerie set, and it's a gift box that's labeled to Ed. It doesn't say from who, but it just has Ed's name on it. And he's trying to break things off with her, and he's trying to leave the facility, and then he goes, hey, I would like to buy a firearm. Can you show me the ones you have? And she's like, fine, I guess, if I can make a little money off of you, you know what I mean? Right. And then he just pops her in the head, shoots her. Just like, she's staring out the window, and he just shoots the shit out of her and drags her body away. Authorities discover a gruesome crime scene at the hardware store, and they find the present that's to Ed. So that obviously leads them right to Ed Gein. But in real life, Ed had bought a container of antifreeze, and Bernice wrote a receipt down in like her log, and then he does ask her to show him the rifles because he's thinking about getting a new rifle, and he happened to have bullets in his pocket that go to that rifle, and so he loaded it while her back was turned and shot her. They did do some liberties from the truth, but it fit well with it. The cops, after they've seen the scene and they start to investigate, Ed's not home. They're just uncovering something that I don't even think their worst nightmares could come up with.
Right. And I like that they made Bernice's son part of the police so that it kind of ties everything together.
Yeah. I think Bernice's son was actually, like, in real life, was part of the firefighter community. So they held some truth into him serving his town. And the son ends up finding his mother completely gutted, without her head, splayed open, like Thanksgiving turkey, hanging in the rafters in a barn.
Basically just loses his mind.
Yeah, well, obviously, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And the way they filmed it, because you don't hear him scream, but you see him just, like, screaming, what else are you going to do at that moment? Like,
yeah.
How do you handle that?
So they arrest Ed, and they reveal that he can't stand trial because he's crazy.
Yep, that's in the next episode. So this one, they did like they did a polygraph test, and he passes the polygraph test because he truly believes that he never did anything to harm these people. Because Ed he said he had these episodes, these blackout episodes, and he convinced himself that he never ever could do anything bad. He couldn't hurt a fly. You'll hear that a lot in the series, as Ed would never hurt a fly. And so, he doesn't end up going to prison because of this. And
so
then
he gets put into an insane asylum.
Yeah.
And back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, insane asylums were much different than they are now. There was a time period between like the 70s and the 80s and partially part of the 90s where insane asylums were, really just no bueno. But the healthcare industry is really, taking a lot closer look at mental health stability. And I don't know what I'm trying to say at this point, but he's being punished, and he's living his life in the insane asylum as best as he can.
That's getting into episode 7, Ham Radio. That one focuses on law enforcement and the media speculate. Deputy, the son that found his mother, turns Ed's farmhouse into a tourist attraction, and he's getting ready to do a auction of all of Ed's things to try and get some money back, because in his head, Ed isn't paying for the crimes that he committed. There's nothing, he's not getting anything out of this. Ed gets to go on vacation, basically. That's what this cop thinks. And this cop, like, the end of the last episode, it's him having Thanksgiving with the sheriff, and the sheriff is cutting up the turkey, and he, like, sees his mother splayed out on the kitchen table, and just has a mental breakdown, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's too bad. But it goes to show what serial killer deaths do to people. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if it's just, if I should specifically say serial killer deaths, because any unexpected death, even some expected deaths, are really, really hard on people. Ed definitely took it to a different level, which is why he is who he is.
Yeah.
But so are we on 7 now?
Yeah.
Now he's in the insane asylum, and he is getting, basically, he gets treated like a superstar and gets whatever he wants.
I do want to touch on the son and how he acted before we get into Ed. The son's obviously drinking, and he has a scene with the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, well, I think you're drinking too much. And it was such a powerful scene for me, because he goes, well, can I ask you a question? And you can be honest with you. Have you ever found your mother's intestines in a bag, and also found her head in a separate bag, and saw her splayed open? No, I don't think so. I think someone that has seen that would say I'm drinking just the right amount. And I just, like, it's so... And maybe it hits home for me because I do enjoy my alcohol. But, like, just the way that he was medicating himself with the alcohol, just, like, what else are you going to do? Like, what? How do you move on from that? Like, losing a parent is one thing, you know, but finding your mother in that display, absolutely horrifying. That's what nightmares are made of. And
exactly,
he's, like, getting ready to sell off parts of Ed's house, and he ends up driving Ed's vehicle around town, and he sees fire trucks going by, and someone had burnt down the Ed Gein house before he could auction off anything, and everything's burned. That really did happen. Someone did light the house on fire. They were trying to auction off the house, but before they could auction it off, it did catch fire, and it completely decimated the house. They also didn't get all of the evidence and things out of the house before that fire happened. So there are parts and secrets in there that we'll never, ever know answers to, you know?
Right, yeah. And there were so many deaths around Ed that you can't think, you have to think that he did more than the 2. Yeah.
Yeah. He only ever admitted to 2. And then you get to see Ed in his fame and glory, like, at this insane asylum. And I wish they had gotten into some of the trials. I know that it took several years for Ed to get the diagnosis that he ends up getting, and it was really one of the first times that the sanity plea was used. You know what I mean? I'm sure it was used in other aspects, but this was like a once in a blue moon that everybody actually agreed on it. And the town of Plainfield felt like he had gotten away with it because he wasn't going to serve any time. And the judge said, no, if at any point in time, if Ed shows that he can stand trial and is, I don't want to say cohesive. What is the word I'm looking for?
Sane.
Cognizant.
If
he is able to stand trial, he'll stand trial for his crimes. But with Ed's mental state now, he can't stand trial. Like, he can't do it.
Yeah. So this is where the whole series for me kind of took a nosedive.
Really?
In
the last 2 episodes?
In the last 2 episodes. Like, I was iffy last week, but I watched it, but during episode 7, during the ham radio stuff, so Ed is in this insane asylum, and he wins money, and he's able to buy 3 ham radios. And whether or not this is true or not, this is just the plain facts of this is what was shown in the show. So he buys 3 ham radios, and in his mind, he sends these ham radios out to these people who has changed him and made him who he is.
So one of the radios he sent out to
Elsa,
and the other one he sent
German,
out to
the Nazi, and then the second one he sent out to a woman who had made the transition from male to female.
And he has this really powerful conversation with Elsa, and she tells him, "You're just human. You can't let these people call you a monster. You can't let these people tear you down." And it like really resonates with Ed in an odd way, because he's able to connect with this person during the series that he's completely looked up to the whole time. And then the other, like I said, the other ham radio goes to a lady who transitioned, and he is asking her all these questions because he kind of feels like he may be transgender or born in the wrong body. And truly, it was just that Augusta just made him so disgusted with men in general, not just himself, that he couldn't be comfortable in his own skin. And what did she call him? A growly-philiac or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. It's just important that he has these relationships in this show, in this order, in order for them to make the theory that he was insane true. But in so doing, they made him personable and, dare I say, likable. And that's what really upset me. I don't think...
Yeah.
I actually turned to your father at one point during this episode, and I was like, they better not make him relatable. They better not make him relatable, because he wasn't relatable. And that was why he did what he did. And if people are going to think he's relatable and think he's cool, then what's going to stop them from doing what he did? So it took a really bad turn for me, and I was just like pissed.
I can understand why you'd be pissed. It does. It what you're saying makes complete sense. Later on in the episode, Ed has a fantasy because the ceiling has started to talk to him. He thinks there's a face in the ceiling that's talking to him. And he has this fantasy where he goes out and gets a chainsaw and kills the head nurse. And this head nurse is kind of a bitch to him. And I think that it's all part of his fantasy that she was rude to him, because in the last episode, she's like one of his homies. But in this episode, he like stalks her in a bathroom and kills her with a chainsaw, and it's pretty brutal. Like, I was surprised at how brutal they made that death scene in that series. Yeah,
right.
He cuts her Achilles tendon and then just like shoves a chainsaw through her chest, and like you see the whole thing, and it's a lot. Like it was
They
heavy.
had to make it look like a lot because when he wakes up the next morning, he's whistling, he's having a good day, and he's walking down the hall, and here comes nurse that he murdered the night before.
And he completely loses it. Just comes uncunted.
I killed you. Like, I killed you. I killed you.
I killed you. Are you a ghost? And the head doctor comes in and is like, Ed, we probably should sit down and have a conversation.
Right. So he sits Ed down and he tells him, Ed says, the voices in the ceiling are talking to me, and Elsa is saying this, and the transgender person was saying this. And he's like, and I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. And the doctor says, none of that is real. I'm the one who has told you have gynophilia.
And your radio, I'm the one.
Your radio
that,
was never plugged in. Your ham radio was never plugged in.
And we have them in the basement because even if we wanted to send them out, we couldn't,
Right. And he says that the ham radio that's in his room was never plugged in.
That there's not a spot to even plug it in. You go back to a scene of a nurse coming to check on him, and he's just talking back and forth on this ham radio with himself, and he's like doing the voices of the people he's talking to. Like he's answering his own questions in a different voice to keep up with the hallucination that he's having. But what were you going to say?
I did not want to like him. I didn't want to end the show liking him because he was a killer. And I just could not fathom. Oh, I was so mad. So going into episode 7.
Oh,
Go
Go on.
Because at the end of episode 6, he's getting better. You know what I mean? They're portraying
starting to
him
find some
as
peace.
having, yeah, he's trying to find some peace. Which, as a Christian, I'm all for peace at the end of life. But maybe you should have lived your life a little bit differently so that you don't seek it so drastically at the end of your life.
And I think Charlie should win an Emmy for that scene where he finds out that he has schizophrenia, because it was some of the
very
best
powerful.
some of the best acting I've seen in the whole series. You know what I mean? In this whole season of The Monster, I thought he did a fantastic job in that scene. Like Mom said, you kind of start to feel for him because he starts to understand that his brain is just fucking broken.
And that, I think that is where the series should have ended.
Yeah.
I really
I
think that after 6, it shouldn't. Like, after Ham Radio, it kind of explains his illness, why he may have done what he did. But no, Netflix has to pull out all the stops. Netflix has to push the envelope and boot one more episode called The Grandfather. This is where you see The Godfather. This is where you see. How did you feel about the last episode, Dakota?
So the final episode, it blurs the past and the present. Ed finds a twisted purpose as his legendary around horror and bodies is acknowledged, and the critical obsession with monster becomes explained a little bit more. They start off with, if you guys haven't watched it, you need to watch it. It's called Mindhunter, and it's about these two investigators.
Oh, you caught that. See, I was worried you wouldn't catch that.
Duh, of course I caught it.
I was like, I hope Dakota catches that.
Well, of course I did, because they go and talk to Jerry Brudos, and he is the shoe fetish killer. And the gentleman who's playing Jerry Brudos was also the guy who played it in Mindhunter. Right. It was the same guy. And Jerry's like, you guys should go talk to Ed. And so they end up going and talking to Ed, and they're trying to find Ted Bundy.
The new BAU unit. And it started to pull in other shows from Netflix. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why? What's the point of this?
Because they all connect to Ed. They all connect to Ed. That's the point, Mom, is that they all connect to him.
See, I needed someone to explain that to me while I was having a fit over the fact that now they're pulling in Mindhunter information. And as soon as they were done doing that, they pulled in different serial killers.
Yep.
They introduced a gentleman from Illinois who was just Richard Speck, who is a horrible serial killer.
Wasn't a serial killer. He was the first mass murderer. He broke into a home that was full of college student nurses and obliterated their bodies. It was disgusting.
Right.
And Richard Speck...
I just don't think that his story needed to be added.
Well, they needed to add it to be able to show the connection that Ed had to all of these other serial killers and why Ed is so integrated in the culture we know now as horror and what his legacy stands for.
But that's the problem, Dakota. Is they are sensationalizing a murderer. And I just
that's
can't
all these
get
series
behind
do.
It.
That's all of these series. Every series we watch about serial killers.
They didn't. I don't think that it felt that way with the Jeffrey Dahmer or the brothers. I don't think and I understand that there's a lot more sensationality to the Ed Gein story just because so much of it has been left unsaid and done. And people are like, there's this gray area where, Ed lived and whatever. But it just seemed that episode 8 was very contrived to make him look and feel like somebody you can relate to. And I don't think people need to be able to relate to Ed Gein.
I don't think people are relating to him. I think they were trying to show how these sick individuals related to him. I think it's tying in that. I don't think it's trying to make you and I like Ed Gein. I think it's trying to explain why other individuals would like him. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's why they did it.
And I looked at your father halfway through this last episode, and I'm like, they better not give him a happy ending. I paused the TV and I said, and I got really upset and I was like, they better not give him a happy ending. And those mother effers gave him a happy ending.
He ends up getting lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, and it's spread to other parts of his body. That is true. That's how he died. And he dies peacefully in his sleep at like the age of 86, I think.
Right.
And it showcases him walking toward a light, and it's got all of the other serial killers that have idolized him, and they're shaking his hand and telling him how much, or the things that they did.
Made my stomach hurt. It just, it was like so sensationalized. I'm like, ugh, why?
And then he gets to where he's walking up some stairs, and guess who's at the top of the stairs?
Augusta. Because it's always about Augusta.
That's what I'm telling you. That the whole Ed is the way he is because of Augusta.
Does he deserve to be with her for eternity?
No.
Because that's what all he wanted in life.
Yeah.
So why would Netflix give him a happy ending?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you there.
Like, let's take, for example, the end of the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Like,
okay.
He finds God and then he's murdered by a fellow inmate. And you were like, he probably deserved it for everything that he did. And you can't do those things and do those atrocities and not expect to have some type of retribution. And for Ed to just die quietly in his sleep and end up with his mother just makes me want to sit back and howl. And in fact, that's about what I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I was, and I texted you and you hadn't finished it. And I was like, no,
fuck?
this isn't right. Someone needs to pay for this.
So after watching it all, how do you feel?
Like I said, the last episode, I wish I hadn't seen it. I wish I would have stopped at 6. Been like, there's no way they can make this,
At 7. Stopped at 7.
At 7. Yes, sorry, at 7. I wish that I would have stopped at 7 because then I would have been okay with it. But then they had to go and make him. And that was when some of the best acting happens in the show. Once he's arrested and, and he comes to terms with his, his sanity and like taking his medication and, all that stuff. I could have done without
that last episode.
The last episode.
I'll agree with you. I definitely agree that the last episode wasn't necessary. I see why they did it to tie up certain ends that may have been loose, but I
hated when they brought what was her name? What's her name back?
Adeline
back. And she hadn't aged a day? What the hell? Like, was that just decrepit. His imagination? Was that just his imagination? Or was she real?
It very well could have been.
Like, they never say, and they never tell you the truth about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you like it, though? Let's take the final episode out. Let's take episode 8 out. Just forget about it. Did you like it?
I was entertained. Yeah. I was entertained. Definitely.
Yeah.
So if you just want to be entertained, you don't want a lot of the historical aspects of the truth, and you don't mind it becoming a sensationalized drivel at the end, then yeah, go ahead and watch it. I recommend it. I recommend it to you.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I said it before, I wish they would have gotten into more of Edda's younger dealing with Augusta, the way he had to deal with her. I think that could have explained a lot of things better. That's how I feel about it. And I did enjoy it, for sure.
Well, see? As long as you enjoyed it, because you were the one who wanted to see it.
So the next...
So badly.
Right? The next monster that comes out is going to be the Lizzie Borden story.
And they're filming that already, I hear.
Yep, so, and it should be good.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. 40 whacks. What was it? It's the saying, and I looked it up the other day. Lizzie Borden gave her mom 40 whacks. When her dad argued something, she gave him 41. Something like that.
So I'm excited to see how that one goes.
They said that they're going to do the story from Idaho, the guy that kills the 4 students.
Oh.
And I think that it's too soon. Too soon. And then Another one was the Louis Magniano or whatever his name is that killed that healthcare CEO in New York. So I've heard those are ones that I've heard that have been that like I said, this is stuff that I saw on Facebook, so it might not be true.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff on Facebook has now become untrue or it's AI, and I can't figure it out anymore.
I did see this crazy AI video of a chicken eating the one chip challenge, and it's like pecking at the chip, and then it just starts to scream.
Oh yeah, I saw a squirrel do it. They had a squirrel eating spicy top ramen. And the squirrel would like dip his face into the top ramen and then do this. And then dip his face back in the top ramen. It made me giggle.
Yeah, the AIs are they are getting kind of hard to pick through.
Yeah, they are. All right, so the next thing we should watch is The Crazy Next Door Neighbor.
Shit, yeah, I want to see that. The what is it? Best Neighbor, World's Best Neighbor, or something like that.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be really, really good. I've heard some really good things about it. Mm-hmm. So let's watch that, and we'll talk about that in the coming weeks.
Okay, I'm down like a clown. All right, Mama, you want to close this out?
Yep. I hope everybody enjoyed our review of Monster, the Ed Gein story. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that we're going to be getting t-shirts soon, and we'll want everybody to vote on those, and you may or may not be shouted out on one of our episodes. So stay tuned for that. Things are picking up, and we're doing good. So don't forget to drink your water and talk to your therapist.
And we will see you next time.
Bye!
Bye-bye! Hell yeah, I suck toes.
That's a little odd, Dakota.